none of these skills that we have used is going to help us.
It's making your partner feel unsafe with you.
We're not seeing the emotional part of it, and that is what bringing in a lot of conflict.
The brain isn't created that way. The brain is created for you to survive.
I'm doing this for you, that for you, still you're not satisfied.
That's the most struggle I'm thinking what partners have. That's going to impact the quality of your life.
Hi, Sebastian. How are you?
I'm good. Slightly nervous. Hi, Shen. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Give a brief about Sebastian. So he is handling this Instagram page called Understanding Love. He drops all truth bombs and valuable insights about relationships and a lot of topics related to relationships. And that's how I found him. And we mutually followed each other. I used to find a lot of value in his content. And one fine day, I just asked him, can we do a casual conversation about understanding relationships? And that's why we are here. To discuss about relationships, how we can understand conflicts and how better we can navigate through these conflicts. How did you find relationship as your area of focus? How did that happen?
So I want you to keep this in because that's real, right? What's happening right now. I'm nervous. So I'm thinking I want to just kind of calm myself down a little bit because you know why I think it's relevant for relationships? Because I feel right now like I'm going to try to confront you about an issue that I've been worried about and I'm scared about your reaction. So I get really nervous, hypothetically, right? So I think that's how it relates in relationships. We will have these situations where our heart rate is just, right? For whatever reason. So I'm just calming myself down. I'm trying to center myself. Okay, so I feel ready for your question. So you said, how did I get started, right? Why did the relationship become the center of my obsession? So basically, to cut it short, looking back, I think I have troubling relationships, not just romantically, but also friendship-wise, family-wise. And I think I was part of the problem. And at some point, so I'm 39 now. I think when I started, I was 30, let's say 36. So not long ago, right? Well into my 30s, where I feel like I kind of maybe had glimpses of waking up to, I think waking up from my own faults, pride, and superiority of, no, everything's cool with me. Other people are shit. And being like, no, I think I'm part of the problem. I think I need to investigate a bit. And I think luckily I found two things. I found the right person to do that with. Like I started dating someone and I just received a lot of affection and security and quick intimacy that in that sense I didn't really have before. So I was lucky in that sense because it kind of inspired me to want more of that and not to mess it up from my part, right? Like I did in the past. So, and then I think the next lucky thing was stumbling upon the right books. And I think that's what it basically is for me. That's the passion for me. It's the right combination of words delivering valuable information can spark something big. Like in a sense, it's small steps, right? It's not like you read one book and you revolutionize your relationships, but it's like little things that you can do where you see in long term, it's like, oh wow, I'm actually getting a lot out of just little nuggets of wisdom and implementing it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think what you got is insight, and you are exploring your own self.
Yeah, painful insights, painful stuff. Like reading about. Look, I made a list, finding out things about the brain, finding out things. What is trauma? Big trauma, little trauma, how it impacts relationships, how it impacts how you see the world, basically, how you are reactive to things. Attachment theory, Gottman stuff, a lot of Gottman stuff, of course. It's very practical. Bowen theory I found really interesting, mainly because of the concept of differentiation of self and family function, which also is a big thing. So I know I'm kind of just rattling off things, but like there's lots.
You're summing up the entire thing, okay? Not just about romantic relationships, but about also how we are relating to others, because it makes a lot of sense. It's because as an adult we may be thinking only about romantic relationship. To be in that adult stage, we have crossed certain stages, right? right from early childhood, going through those developmental stages have made us into that adult. So it matters a lot, those family dynamics and how those family dynamics are affecting in the present relationship. It all matters. I can see that in your page, there's a lot of citations of various scholarly works, and it's not some random relationship books, but then all from giants.
I think, yeah, what for me is, because I'm not an expert. I said that to you before, and you know that, and but I want to clarify. I don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself someone who is just a, just a regular guy who was tired of not understanding love. Ding ding ding. Um, and just reading a lot. Yeah, just reading a lot, and then actually stepping from the books are good, books are great, but then to find the other, research, just free, available research, loads of research, and it's available for everyone. And I think I'm in a lucky position that for some reason, I have a lot of time. I can use my time. So every day I can spend X amount of hours just reading through research. And I think it puts me in a lucky position because I think I want to say regular people, but I don't mean it in a hierarchy. I mean in someone who is maybe not interested in reading 3 hours of research every day, where I see the value of my page, because I do that. I do it for you, and then I'm just like, look, this is amazing, like this quote, and it's all connected, everything is kind of, you can see how attachment theory, schema therapy, how all these concepts, when you learn about distortions, what are my distortions, how it's all interrelated, and then it all goes back to childhood, in the end.
And can you also talk about Understanding Love, the book you're authoring about?
Yeah, so I'm writing a book for probably 3 years now, and it's massive. It's too massive. It's too big. It's like 1,300 something pages now, and it's still growing. I'm not editing anything out right now. I'm throwing everything against the wall that I think that's amazing, that's amazing, that's amazing, another thing amazing. And I have a structure, I have a logical progression through the topics, for my understanding. And at some point, I think it might end up being 2,000 pages once I'm like, I covered everything. And then, I don't know, I have to see. I have to definitely edit it down, I guess. But I will also want to just, at least for me, have the 2,000 pages.
Okay, that become a handbook for many of us, like a go-to book.
Handbook.
Yeah.
This big. Should we say your background a bit? Because I would like to know too. Like, did you say you're connected to Gottman theory? Is that what it is?
No, actually, as you are, I come from a tech background. I'm an engineer. I was an engineer. And then I saw this drama happening everywhere. Like couples were fighting. My friends, two of my friends, one from my childhood and one from my office, good friends, they were heading for divorce. And then it hurt me badly. So I was standing there looking at them, trying to talk to them and all of that. And then I was before that, I was very interested, very keen on working with people. But then this was a turning point when I decided that, okay, this is the area that I really, really wanted to work with. I should work with families. I should work with couples. I should work with children. And then I started reading more. And then I understood that only happy couples can bring out happy children.
That's sweet.
Basic unit of the society, and only then the whole society will be healthy, the whole country, the community, everything will be functioning. So I wanted to do it professionally, so I did my cross major in medical and psychiatric social work, and then I am doing my doctorate in focusing on couple communication, and my master's thesis was also based on emotional intimacy, because I've been researching on emotional intimacy and marital intimacy since 2017. I'm very passionate about this area, so that was my background. I was telling this answer to myself that it was my friend's divorce which pushed me to go into this field. It was not. Okay, deep down, it was parents' conflict which was staring for a long time. Okay, they were together because I come from India. So in India, we uphold family values. Like, no matter what, even if you're in an abusive relationship, you have to stay together because you got married. I'm not telling that my parents had that extreme, but then that's the kind of family values that people usually hold. Like that's why India has even its divorce rate very very low, despite the conflicts, despite the population being very high. India's divorce rate is very very comparing with the global statistics, it's very very less. Okay, it made me to think about it, and then yeah, self awareness helped me to understand why I chose this field. What was my I think it was my trauma response, if I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, was it like would you say it's like maybe you came from an empowering thing, like you were maybe helpless with your parents, but then if you study it and help other people, you could kind of rectify the past a bit or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sound cynical, but it sounds like you're saying in India, people the divorce rate is low, not because people are so happy, but because there's a cultural pressure to remain married, even if it's really bad. When is relationship advice usable, and when is it just a situation to you need to leave or get help, you know?
I think this is a disclaimer that I always use with my couples. If there
Hmm.
is a partner violence, I think the offender had to go to counseling separately. So when they come to couple counseling, we are not dealing with intimate partner violence or abuse in that therapy session. It's for couples who love each other but still who are fighting with each other for that love. Okay, it's not about one abusing another person. I mean, let that be bi-directional also. In intimate partner violence, we say there is something called as bi-directional couple violence, where both of them will hit each other. It's not that one person is battering the other person. Okay, it's very very important for us to understand when the relationship is toxic or when it's abusive. As per the National Family Health Survey, round 4, the prevalence of intimate partner violence ranges between 3 to 43% in different states of India. So, marital violence acceptability is among the highest in the world, which is 52% for women and 42% for men. This is the magnitude of intimate partner violence. And I can see you.
I'm shocked. This is wild. I didn't know that. So you saw my live reaction to that. Yeah, that's wild.
I think I'm just giving this background because a lot of times we don't understand, oh, this is emotional abuse that is happening to me. People only consider when it is physical abuse, only when a husband or wife is battering at each other, they think that, okay, that is violence. There's also other kinds of violence. Even neglect is a type of violence, which when the partner is constantly giving silent treatment or ignoring the needs of, listening, at least listening to her or meeting the emotional needs of the partner, that is also abuse. So I think it's very, very important for us to understand when we are in abusive relationship, whether it's toxic relationship, should we seek professional help? Getting all these communication skills or practicing gratitude is not going to help us in that way.
I mean, we're obviously from very different cultures, but nonetheless, as a human right, you should feel safe. Like that should just be a given, and it's probably a little bit entitled, maybe from my point of view, from my culture, to say that. But I truly believe that you should feel safe with your partner, and that includes, like you said, also emotionally. So if your partner is humiliating you, is belittling you, is not taking you seriously, and there's a power dynamic, a power differential where you are being kept small, that's going to impact the quality of your life. That's going to impact the quality of your self-esteem, your self-worth, everything. I can feel my I'm getting kind of emotional on this topic. Partly because I come from a family where I saw these things happening, and it's rough. So, yeah, I just hope that people seek out help. Seek out help. You don't need to stay in a relationship like that. I'm guessing in India it's harder to get out. I don't know how the system works, how much support you can find, how accepted it is.
Suppose there is policy, there is law and regulation to protect intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and all of that. But then I think by culture, I think the abuse is normalized very much that people don't consider that as abuse. One thing, even if they consider that as abuse, they easily forgive people. Oh, it's okay. It's my spouse. It's okay.
It's so normalized. Is that what you're saying? It's just because it's so prevalent, it's all around. It's like, yeah, this is what it is. No,
Yes.
no, no, not acceptable. I'm
No.
sorry.
Yes.
No, no, it's not acceptable. It's
Yes.
not. It's not normal. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's psychologically damaging.
I would like to ask you about self-awareness. Before exploring what is happening in the relationship between the partners, I think it is very, very important to understand what is happening within us. So I want to understand, what is self-awareness to you?
Ooh, that's, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a broad term, and I think depending on whatever source you read, there's different kind of nuances to the definition. I think for relationships, it's a combination of knowing your emotions, feeling your emotions, as best as you can. We have all different levels of skills how we can be in touch with our emotions, depending on our childhood, if it was modeled to us. But everybody can practice it. We can all get in touch with our emotions to some degree. That's the emotions. Then also knowing or understanding, thinking about what's the interplay of my emotions and my thoughts, how they kind of go back and forth, because that's bidirectional, right? I can implant terrifying thoughts in my mind, and then my body will feel it, right? It will become a bodily sensation. And it can be the other way around. Maybe if you, I don't know, you're on the bus and someone gets close to you and your body just has a reaction. You don't like it, right? And then that will also inform the thoughts you have, or like, what's going on in your cognitive area. So that's self-awareness. But then also self-awareness is actually ability to mentalize, meaning I understand my feelings. I kind of know how these things interplay. So I can also kind of anticipate what my partner is having going on internally. Meaning I get an understanding of, okay, they are sad because this happened. That's how I would see self-awareness. It's actually three things. It's what's going on inside of me, what's going on inside of my partner, and how is what's going on inside of me and my partner interplaying with each other in a system.
So I saw a beautiful post which I remember. There's something about self-awareness progression, right?
I
Recall there's a beautiful post which actually explains. So it's a progress. It's not just that happens in one day. As you said, you can't go to a therapy session and you can't be self-aware once you step out of the session. It's just not going to happen. It's going to take a lot of time for you to look inside and to find your own answers. So if you can explain with that example, with that sound sensitivity case, it can help people to understand it in a much, much better way, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll try it. So that was actually the post you were referring to. It's my own self-awareness progression. I realized that, so I have a regular job. At my job, I don't want to get too specific, but I recognized that I started disliking a certain person. And in my mind, it was just a basic thought. It was like, oh, I hate this person, right? But then self-awareness progression would have been, and that's what happened. I didn't want to stop there. I didn't want to think like, well, I just hate this person. Okay, what's going on? So I reflected, right? It's a process of reflection, of going inside and kind of trying to make connections and make sense of things, make sense of what's happening. So the progression was, I hate this person, but then I realized, okay, wait, why do I not like this person? Well, this person is kind of talking in a loud voice. I was like, okay, that's the next level, right? And then I was like, okay, let's not stop there, right? There's more to this story here. Okay, so I dig deeper and like, okay, I don't like it because it's so shrill and it puts my body into stress. I get stressed. That's what it is. Okay. So maybe it's not a personal thing. It's just this person has a way of talking that puts my body for some reason into stress. Let's go a little bit deeper. Why? Why am I stressed because of a loud voice? Other people are not stressed. I don't see anyone else stressed. So must be something particular to me. And the connection was to connect it back to my childhood, because I grew up in a childhood home with tumultuous situations, not constantly, but like sporadically and explosive enough to leave an imprint on my brain to get stressed out when something is shrill or sudden or unexpected, or someone has a particular expression in their face that reminds me of my dad, maybe when he was angry, these things, right? And so I could connect that. I could be like, okay, so I'm not hating this person. I just have a bodily reaction that puts me into stress because I had a particular childhood where loud noises meant danger. I was in danger. So now my body thinks you're in danger. So it puts me in danger, stress.
It's a trigger and you're responding to it.
Exactly.
Beautiful example, and you have put it in a very nice way, easy to understand also. So I have seen clients who often tell that both of them, both men and women, When my partner does this, I don't like it. I know I can't take it. Be being aggressive just like this, screaming at them, they'll not be able to
Okay.
do it because exactly this comes from their childhood. That's trauma response, and some may have a problem with crying. Okay, they cannot take it when their partner cries instantly. Okay, because again they can't stand it. It's a trigger. It's an emotional trigger for them. They'll not be able to
Hmm.
take it. I think it comes with an understanding when we look into us and why it makes me uncomfortable when someone cries, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good point.
that, right? So we have to understand. Okay, crying is a very very normal thing. It's a human emotion, and we have to emote it, right? So when you're sad, you obviously cry. And why it makes me uncomfortable? I think we should ask this question to understand. Okay, why is that triggering me? What is actually with it? Okay, so we go
Hmm.
deeper and deeper. How deep we can go and see what is happening inside. So we'll find our answers. And maybe in that way, what we're doing here is we are understanding our own trigger, our own trauma response. And then what we're doing is we are helping our partner to understand that. We're giving that map, we're giving that blueprint. Okay, fine. I don't think, I'm trying to heal myself. I take accountability to heal myself, but I also need a support here. Okay, I want you to support me. So you give your triggers and you ask your partner to support you. Don't exactly do that and until don't exactly do those things, right? So you can invite your partner to support you in that progress. That will help.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. I think what it needs for that to function well, and I think that's the most struggle I'm thinking what partners have, is that there's typically an imbalance of willingness to work on issues, willingness to be sensitive, willingness to prioritize the relationship, maybe relationship work. So if you hand over your list of triggers to a partner who just doesn't care to do that, that's rough. I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, right? I'm saying there is a limit to things we can do in a relationship. And the limit is usually the willingness of people to want to do something. Like there are people, and that's not a judgment, but it seems to be there are people, the term, either you have a fixed mindset or growth mindset. So there are people that just walk through life and they're like, I am who I am. I'm not going to change. And they truly believe that. And they probably won't change.
Of course, I agree, but I think it's also part of the agreement of companionship. Moral agreement that we make with our partner when we take oath. Okay, let's move into relationship. Let's be there for each other, and that's what we are signing up for when you're entering into the relationship, isn't it? You don't have to take responsibility of healing your partner or doing all the work for your partner, but I think as a companion, you can offer support to your partner. You can be empathetic with your partner and you help them to grow. You grow and also you help them to grow. I think it is very, very important.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something. Because what's the line, right? And the line could be, yeah, you help your partner, but you don't become their caretaker. I'm saying this because I have read more about codependency.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's something you don't want to slip into. And
About
some anxious people might.
yes. Can you please explain the difference between codependency, interdependency, dependency overall? I mean, do you think we should be dependent on our ships or partners? Should we be dependent on our partners?
Yeah, I think we do already depend. Like as soon as you have emotions for the person and care, you do depend on them. And that's not unhealthy. That's a normal thing of attaching to someone. Okay, but there's a line, right? There's a balance, a sweet spot where you want to reside. You're not taking care of someone in a sense like you always do the phone calls to make their doctor's appointment. You make sure they have always the right clothes to wear. You're not uh, in my book, right? I don't know, maybe there's a culture difference. But like you're not helping to fix someone. You're not in a relationship to fix the other person. I would say if that's your intention, that's not a good intention. A better intention is both people come together and you try individually to grow and to grow as a couple. And that makes me think of the theory of self-expansion. It's you get with someone to get something from them, nice qualities. You want to integrate something from them into you. Like if someone is more industrious than you and you have great love for each other and respect, you might become a bit more industrious. You might become a bit more organized, if you want to, if that's a value you want to strive for. So instead of just you expending your energy for your partner in a codependent way, meaning in a way where you are thinking you have to save them, fix them, their problems all of a sudden become your problems, meaning their problems are not their problems anymore. They don't have to take care. You're over functioning. You're doing too much, and it's going to be at the expense of yourself. So there's a sweet line of, yeah, we depend on each other. I need to depend on you to be reliable, to be consistent, to care for me, to show up for me, to listen to me. That's healthy depending. But you don't want to be a partner who depends on on someone else's, like, well, I cannot make any phone calls. You need to do that for me. I don't know how to find a job. You need to find my job.
Decision making. I can't make any decisions.
Yeah. It's about empowering. In the end, it's about empowering. I know it's a kind of cliche, word, but that's what it is. Your partnership should make each individual stronger, not one weaker and one more passive or only sad, or that's a horrible place to be in.
There's something called as accessibility, responsiveness and engagement that we talk about in EFT, emotionally focused couple therapy. The culmination of all of this is, the beginning one, when we spoke about emotional starvation or needing each other for that emotional support. So from there till now, asking us to be in a relationship to support each other's growth, what I'm seeing is there's only one question. Are you there for me? Are you there for me? Can I depend on you? Will you respond to me? Will you engage to me? And these are the pillars of EFT, which is emotionally focused couple therapy, which is the gold standard therapy for couples. Being available, that's it. Whenever being both of you available for each other, it's going to solve all your conflicts. And there you have a secure attachment with your partner.
That's a solid basis. And that's also probably, yeah, I mean, it goes back to intimacy, right? Can I connect the two things?
Yes, please. Yes. So what do you think intimacy is all about?
I think we hear the word intimacy and we think, well, yeah, sex, right? I mean, that's a part of intimacy, but really the bedrock of a solid relationship is solid intimacy. That is emotional intimacy. And how do we get there? Intimacy is created by two people sharing sensitive personal information, meaning this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I have experienced, this is what I'm scared of, sensitive personal information, and then the other person receiving it well. So if someone is like, I don't care about this, you don't really have intimacy. You have one person sharing, but then the other one kind of destroying the intimacy. So intimacy between two partners, and therefore also trust, is created if one shares, the other one reacts well, relaying a message of, I get it, I get you. I take your information, I take care of it. I'm sensitive with this information. I'm not going to use it against you, but I'm understanding it and I'm connecting with it. And I'm saying, I get your experience. Yeah, that makes sense. Or, man, that's rough, whatever, And then both people do that. It's mutual and it's reciprocated and it's vulnerable and it's sensitive and it's sweet. It's really nice.
Yeah. Okay, Sebastian. I just wanted to understand from your understanding, why do you think there's a lot of conflicts amongst couples?
The truthful answer most of the time, I would say, is a lack of feeling safe with each other, a lack of trust that one can be vulnerable, and a lack of knowing how to be vulnerable, what it means to be vulnerable. Because the thing is, we fight classic topics, right? We fight about cleaning dishes, we fight about not having enough sex, we fight about, all these things. But most of the time, this is surface, blah, blah. It's surface. What's underneath is the feelings that we are trying to kind of maybe even avoid by staying on the surface, right? And by staying on the surface, by talking, yeah, but I did this, no, you did this, and back and forth, we're avoiding going to the core because that's painful. It's hard to go to the core of things, to say, well, I feel invisible when you don't do these things, and I feel like I don't have a voice, or you don't maybe care about me. I don't, to really drop down into matter of fact vulnerability.
It's the emotional starvation. It's as you said, all the conflicts that we have, that you're not doing dishes, you're not taking enough responsibilities in a home. It's all I mean, I'm shouldering all the responsibilities, or you're not doing enough for your children. All of this comes in on, it's only on the surface level. What is happening at the core is, you don't care for me enough, I'm not feeling loved, and they're starving for this emotional connection, and that starvation is bringing out all these conflicts.
It's almost like an automatic process that we kind of, and that ties into self-awareness, we need to become aware of. Once we feel heard, when we feel something vulnerable is happening inside, we might not even feel it on a conscious level. So it's not a feeling, it's an emotion, it's subconscious or non-conscious, right? But it's happening. So there's a pain.
Okay.
And then what happens, that's a primary emotion. And then for most of us, we transfer it into secondary emotion, and it comes out as anger, right? Because now we don't feel weak, we don't feel, but we feel empowered, because anger gives us strength, right? It's like, oh, I'm standing up for myself. But then what that does is, if you, you know how it feels, if you get confronted with anger, it hurts. So then the other person will do the same thing. They will feel hurt, but then boom, anger. Okay, you're angry, I'm angry. Bam, bam, bam.
It'll escalate into the conflict.
Yeah.
And we are trying to do everything logically there. Okay, there is a negotiation, there is give and take and everything. And we're not seeing the emotional part of it. And that is what bringing in a lot of conflicts. You know, when couple fight, this is what I always say. I'm doing this for you, that for you, but still you're not satisfied. You're not satisfied because it's not about the things that you buy or the, you know, what you provide for them. It's about the emotion. What do you think is the best practice for people to, you know, stay away from conflicts? Or maybe conflicts are healthy, we can't avoid it. How do you think we can handle conflicts in a better way?
I would say, first off, as a couple, you need to establish rules. And I know it sounds pretty unsexy. It sounds like school or work. It's weird. But you need to have rules of conduct, because two people, you come from different backgrounds. You have different style of how you interact. You know, one is a shouter and it's normalized. You're like, no, you're stupid. No, you once you once you get into a union with someone, you need to, I would say, have clear rules of, okay, if one of us has internal stress and an urgency and impulse to be angry verbally, we need to have rules about that. So once someone has this feeling, we need to have rules of conduct. I would say no name calling. That's off the table. We don't use words like you're an idiot, you're stupid. Anything that's a character assassination, it's hurtful, you know? So that's a no-no. I would also include shouting. I would say to raise your voice, especially as a man, I gotta say, because if we do that, we're scary. We're scary. Like, so if we start to shout, that's not good. So no shouting. That's at least on my list.
And I think it's about how you start is going to solve a lot of your problems. I think that's what you're about to say. Instead of screaming, just start soft. I think the trajectory is going to take a very, very different path.
100%. That's what research said, right? That's the Gottman stuff. The way you enter the conversation is going to predict if it's going to go well or not. If you start at this level, that's what we said before. The person is going to meet you right at this level, and there's no much more way to go.
What I also think is, when there is a conflict, I think we see that as a psychological threat. A thinking brain is not going to think anymore. It's an emotional brain which is responding to us because it's a threat for us. When my partner is fighting with me, I'm going to perceive that as a threat. At that point of time, I don't really think none of these skills that we have used is going to help us. Like, no matter the rules that we made, for example, let's say the couple makes a rule like you're not going to use the D word, divorce word. Naturally occurs in the fight. They're going to tell that, you know what, I don't want to stay in this marriage. Let's part ways. And then after the fight, they're going to think bad about it. They're going to regret what they said. I didn't mean it. I didn't intend to say that. It just came out of my mouth. I don't know why I said that. I feel very bad. All of that comes. And this is happening because they didn't process what they said, because their skills, their patience was not accessible at that point of time.
Yeah, what's happening there is the prefrontal cortex in your brain, right? This part in the front, that's like your wise brain or executive functioning, where you can plan things and you can think in a structured way and in an adult way about things. That's kind of shut off. Because if you feel threatened by your partner or threatened in general, your emotional part, as you said, the limbic system, it's
Yeah,
more here. It's, they say, evolutionary, it's the older parts,
Italian
but they
brain.
have different, yeah. But some terms like that, it's outdated, and they don't, yeah. It keeps changing, right? How they make sense of things. But there's general agreement that the limbic system is like with the amygdala, where it's your threat detector. It's basically flooding your whole brain and shutting off. So cortisol, adrenaline, it's all going through your system. And that's shutting off your prefrontal cortex. So you're not really able to make smart decisions because the brain isn't created that way. The brain is created for you to survive. If your amygdala perceives threat, it's like, we don't want to think right now. We just need to jump into action, fight, flight, freeze, or we drop to the ground and play dead.
And that is why either when it's a conflict, we are either attacking our partner, or when we want to take flight, we just leave the room, withdraw from the partner, withdraw from the problem, or maybe freeze, we just don't react at all. We don't know
Yeah.
what to do. Right?
Yeah, could be stonewalling, silent treatment. That could be seen as freeze, or the avoidant partner who runs out the door is withdrawing. Yeah, and that's all not helpful. So that brings us back to self-awareness. I think it needs to be a daily practice. If you want to be a good partner, it needs to kind of be a daily practice to form the neural pathways in your brain to help them grow and connect, to have the awareness of, when am I actually distressed? You need to know when you are distressed. If you don't sense that, your brain kind of runs away with you. And that's how you have these reactivity, impulsivity fights. And you don't want that, because that's deleterious for the relationship. It's going to erode trust and intimacy if you continue have these hurtful arguments. So you need to kind of check in with yourself and detect, oh, I think I'm getting a bit worked up here. Can we take a time out? You communicate that. You need to, I need to take care of myself. I think I'm gonna say something I'm gonna regret. I don't want to. Give me 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then let's regroup.
So again, it comes to self-awareness, like what is going inside me, so that I'm not going to damage the relationship by saying something I don't intend or mean. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's going to help the relationship.
And it brings it back to what you said, are you there for me? Do you care for me? Can I count on you? It's tying back into attachment theory. Is my partner my secure base? Is my partner my safe haven? Can I leave from my partner and know they are there and I'm still in their mind, in their heart? And then when I return, if I have problems, do they take me? Do they take care of me? These feelings can get slowly but surely destroyed, the intimacy, if you have too many fights like that. If fights just escalate too much. Of course, there's the whole Gottman, the 5-to-1 ratio and 20-to-1 ratio. So if you have fights, you're not doomed necessarily. It depends on how well do you repair afterwards. If you have a rupture in the fight, and it's like, let's say the fight is like 10 out of 3, like badness, right? It's not super bad, but you kind of feel like, I don't like my partner right now. How well can you come back together and repair? Maybe you come back and the repair is 4 out of 10. You kind of come back strengthened because you drop down into vulnerability and intimacy and say your part, you apologize properly. That's also a big one. Accountability. This is what I did wrong. I assume this is how it affected you. It hurt your feelings. I'm really sorry. And to be genuine also, not just to say, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
that doesn't count, right? So you need to be genuine and authentic. And yeah.
Maybe for the conflict, in what ways I am responsible for this conflict. You can think about it in your reflection.
Yeah.
So.
And I think maybe to sum it up, because I wanted to talk about the man thing, I think in my past where I had this false veil of superiority, which was based on a fragile self-esteem, basically. It's not real. Whenever I had fights, my brain was wired to look for the other one to be responsible, to be at fault, never me. And I'm thinking, maybe I'm generalizing, but I think many men do that. And I think we maybe culturally also are trained to do that, to be like, no, I'm the tough guy. I'm not at fault. I'm going to talk circles around you to make you believe you're at fault. And I think that's not good for relationships. That's not building trust. It's doing the opposite. It's making your partner feel unsafe with you, because you're coming from a place of superiority. So I think Terence Real is a proponent for that. He says that, and I agree that men need to drop down from their superiority. It's about eye level. It's about you and me. We're both in the same boat. You will mess up. I will mess up. We need to be accountable. I'm not better than you. So I think that's an important message for men to allow themselves to become more vulnerable, and for women to become more assertive, so we can hang out on eye level.
Beautiful. When you were saying that, I just thought of this quote. In a partnership, you don't walking ahead or behind. You just walk beside your partner.
Yeah, I get goosebumps. Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. I think
Yeah.
That was so beautiful. Thank you for joining.
That was
Me
very nice.
We had a great conversation about understanding relationships, intimacy, conflicts, and how better we can navigate through them.
Yeah, I agree.
See you
Very good.
very soon.